Okay, welcome. You can tell I haven't had my hair cut in much too long, and I'm paying the price with the ponytail. In fact, my whole family has to look at this. All right, today is the hardest factoring lesson, and I swear I'll make it worth your while because we're going to figure out why we have to factor by the end of this week for sure. Okay. So this is from the last lesson we did. We went over common factoring, grouping, simple, complex, perfect, difference of squares. And then we did this beautiful thing where we put them all into a lovely flow chart and talked about how we would approach it if we didn't know what kind we were supposed to be doing. So common factoring was always the first step. And then we talked about if there's two terms, it might be a difference of squares, or it might just be done. If it's four terms, it's grouping. Simple, perfect squares, complex, long story, but we got it all down. So I'm going to attach a PDF that I got from Mrs. Hybers to this, but if you wrote it down, whichever way it makes sense to you, that's the way we're going to do it. All right, so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take a common factor out, and then I'm going to factor it again, or I might just give you ones that take more than one step to factor. You have to basically take 2 steps in order to do these. And some of them can go on for even longer than that, but I'm not going to make you think too hard today. All right, so there we go. That was our little cap. So what we're going to do is this. I'm going to show you a question. All right. The question is 3x squared minus 18x minus 48. Okay. I'll put that here on my whiteboard. All right. At this point, you should pause and try to see if you can do the question yourself. Okay? I'm not going to pause because I don't want to spend too much time on the YouTube videos here. All right, first thing, is there a common factor? A lot of people would think 2 would work out, but in actuality, 3 is the common factor for this one. If you take a 3 out, you're left with x squared minus 6x minus 16. Which is, what kind of, it's 3 terms. There's no number in the front now, so it's a simple trinomial. So you want to think of 2 numbers that multiply to negative 16 and add to negative 6. So if you want to do your little negative 16, negative 6, and hopefully you're going to come up with a negative 8 and positive 2. So the second step, keeping that common factor in the front, there we go. So I guess I should put equal signs down here, all right? And that's it, you're done. You can't go any further with any of this, okay? Okay, so again, pause, and we're gonna move on to the next question. So the next one, as I erase this, moving on, and I'm going to try and do it in increasing orders of difficulty. Negative 2x squared minus 28x minus 98. Again, this is the time. Pause. Write it down. Think about it. Give it a try. All right, I'm going to jump right in. I'm seeing that the 2 can divide out, which is lovely, because that means I won't have anything else in front of the x squared. I'm also, if I ever have a negative in front of my first term, my largest exponent, I'm always going to take that negative out. And we'll discuss why we do that later. So, x squared plus 14x plus 49. 49, that's it. Okay. Now, what do we have here? Well, you can think of it as 2 things. This is a simple trinomial. it's also a perfect square. So, two numbers that add to 14 and multiply to 7, or 49. Oh, I gave it away as I did it. Okay, x plus 7 times x plus 7, which of course, if you wanted to go directly, that's where you'd end up. Okay? Okay, again, take a second. Pause if you need to. We're going to move to the next one. All right. This one is a favorite of mine. All right. 4x squared minus 100. All right. I'm having fun with this. Pause. Let's see. I haven't tried pink yet. Now this one I love because it looks like it's a perfect square, and it is, but it has a common factor as well. There's a common factor of 4. And there we have our difference of squares. It's still there, it's just, it's smaller, okay? So, two terms, negative sign in the middle, both of them are perfect squares, so it's going to be x plus 5 and x minus 5. And then, again, we are done. We cannot go any further with that, okay? All right, moving on. Our next one, negative 6x squared minus 5x plus 4. Give yourself a big pause to try that. While I put this up. All right. So, this one, I don't see anything common between 6 and 5 and 4. So, theoretically, you could leave it. But I am going to suggest you never leave a negative in front of the first term. It just is going to make the next section we're moving on to a little bit more difficult. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide out a negative 1. All right, so what are we left with now? It's a trinomial. It has 3 terms. It's not simple. Is it a perfect square? Well, the 4 is a perfect square, but the 6 is not. So we are kind of stuck with the difficult kind, the complex trinomials. So if I was going to do the x method, I would see 2 numbers that multiply to negative 24, so we multiply these, and add to positive 5. And those numbers would be positive 8 and negative 3. So if you're going to do decomposition, and I've sort of suggested this to a few people, you may want to use square brackets so that you don't get confused when we take out a common factor. And this is a good, see how these are both negatives, but the ones I needed to be positive, so I'm going to take a negative 1 out. And that gives me the same bracket twice. So negative is here. I don't need the big brackets anymore. I can just go with the 3x plus 4, 2x minus 1. All right. So that's hard. This is very difficult stuff. You're having to common factor, and then you're having to factor again. Okay? All right. Did this one, did that one. We're moving on. Okay. x to the power 4 minus 16 is our next one. Okay, there's my brush. There it is. Take this one down, pass it around, and here we go. All right. So, common factor. No, there's no common factor. So, count the number of terms, 2 terms, both of them are perfect squares. There's a subtraction sign in the middle. This looks easier than I could have hoped for. Here is where the trick lies. This bracket is a difference of squares again. So this bracket can be factored once more. This one can't because there's no way you can get anything that's going to work out with this positive in the middle. So this first bracket is going to stay where it is. And this bracket is going to become x plus 2, x minus 2. And at that point, you are done. So part of this is knowing, a lot of it, is knowing when you have more steps to do and when you can't do anything more. Okay? So this is 2 steps, just doing a difference of squares twice. All right. And again, I got 2 more, so we're getting into the hard ones here. All right. Here we go. 7x cubed minus 20x squared minus 3x. All right. Pause. Let's put that up there. And take this off. All right. Step 1, common factor. Well, 7, 20, and 3, I don't see what's happening there. But I've also never asked you to do anything with a cubed before, so that's a little bit suspicious. And then you'll notice that there's an extra x in every single one of these that I could take out like that. Oopsie, don't forget the 7. 7x squared minus 20x minus 3. Awesome, common factor's out. Now, how many terms do we have? 3. Is this 7 able to be in any way factored out? Did I miss that? No. Is it a perfect square? No. So we're looking at a complex again. So you need 2 numbers that multiply to negative 21 and add to negative 20. Okay. So if you do decomposition like I did last time, go ahead with it. If not, I'm going to use the method that I used, the other one, the cross method. Okay, so what multiplies to negative 21 and adds to negative 20? Well, hopefully you realize it's going to be 21 and 1. And if we wanted to add to a negative, the 21 is going to be negative and the 1 is going to be positive. And then I'm just going to go and put the value of A underneath both of them, okay? And then reduce, so that's negative 3 over 1 and 1 over 7. So it would become x minus 3 and 7x plus 1. Does that work? 7x squared plus 1 minus 20. Yeah, there we go. All right. Common factor, then a complex. All right. And last one. 2x cubed minus 24x squared plus 54x. All right. Pause to do it. Oopsie, I don't need more tape. I can just use this. All right. Common factor. 2x. X x squared minus 12x plus 27. And if you make a mistake, like try not to, because if you make a mistake, you can spend a lot of time trying to factor something from, not dividing 2 out properly. That would not be cool. All right, so 3 terms left. It is a simple trinomial because there's a value of 1 in front of our x squared. So we just have to think of 2 numbers that multiply to 27 and add to negative 12. So take the time, pause it, think about it. And there you go. All right, so that's pretty much it. If you have any other questions, send them to me. I will happily do them and send a video to you. I've got nothing else to do. I miss you guys, and I'm going a little bit crazy. So at that point, we are at the end, and we really are at the end of this. So the next thing we're gonna work on is how to use this skill to solve equations. Just like we solved linear equations, we're gonna use factoring to solve quadratic equations, okay? So get that assignment done and get it into me so I know you're on track.